worries.
Okay, we're recording. But yeah, we can change it to whatever.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I
this is
think,
good.
but I think if it's like this,
Yeah. Then
hang on. If I'm talking, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't see me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
Weird.
just do that.
Okay.
That works. Thank you so much.
Oh, no worries, man. And believe me, when you said it, I was like, yep, there you go. Well, no, because I did a Utah high school 2 days ago, and everything seemed fine. And I set it up on my side, but they screwed up something on their audio, and I could tell because I could hear an echo.
Right.
And they said it sounded perfect on their side. I'm like, well, so I just turned down the sound every time I had to talk because the echo was so bad that I would have gone insane.
Yeah.
If you go, I think you probably already looked in your audio settings, which is let me make sure. So audio echo cancellation's already turned on here. I think it was it was turned on in there, and it still didn't. If you want to do, I don't think we have any background noise to speak of.
Not really, but I have it on just in case.
So what I will do is I would start with your original questions again, unless you want to mix it up, and I will be more, now that I've listened to them once, I'll be more direct, and so we can go as long as you have questions, but I'll be more to the point.
Yeah,
I won't ramble.
Yeah, my big worry right now, running in the back of my head, is that I'm gonna skip over stuff that like was important the first time around because it's already in my head, and I got to remember like my audience. I'm assuming is the same percentage flat Earth as the general population. So
Probably.
meaning that they don't really have much perspective on it.
Right.
Yeah, I want to be careful about those. But yeah. So then let's start with the moment you realized it was true. And again, I in my mind, I think I'm gonna have this section, like I'm not gonna say who you are for anyone who doesn't recognize you right off the bat. Of course, it'll be a dead giveaway for some people. But so the topic of flat Earth won't really be an issue until we get midway through the interview and we start talking about the details of that. So just the experience of how did it feel to realize my world is
okay. Yep.
Cool.
All right. So the moment that I realized that this might be something tangible, something that I was going to be spending a lot of time on, I was extremely frustrated. And by that, I mean banging my head on the keyboard because my journey was way longer than the average person. The average person that gets into our community, 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, before they cave in under one of the 5 stages of acceptance and then finally become part of our community. But for me, I didn't have a lot to draw off of because there wasn't a lot out there. I mean, I literally joined the Flat Earth Society that is based, I think a British guy is running it out of Hong Kong. And I looked at it for 9 months, did not think for a second that it was going to be something. But after 9 months, I had that realization moment the day before I made the clues, before I made the Flat Earth clues and put it out on the internet. It wasn't even despair. It was this acceptance. I mean, it is called the 5 stages of acceptance. Like, really? I mean, I'm staring at my screen going, really, we're going to do this. And I'm just going, no, it can't be. It can't be. If I had a wall, if I was close to a wall, I would have just punched my head through a wall because it was so incredibly frustrating that I could not solve this puzzle, which is like, it's easy. Again, that's why, the documentary, it's such an easy puzzle to solve. It's kind of, what it is? It reminds me of a child's toy, like a Hellraiser box, but made for a child, which is kind of a weird comparison. And you see someone playing with it on a park bench and they've got this furrowed brow, like they're looking at it, they can't solve it. And you're laughing from a distance. Idiot. This is the easiest toy in the world. He finally gives up and slams it down on the bench and walks away. And you walk up casually. It's like, oh my God. It's like, I can't believe. Fine, stupid little thing. And I should be able to turn it this way or this way. And finally, after a few minutes, you're going, why, stupid toy, why doesn't this thing work? And after a while, the more time you spend on it, the more you eventually have this realization. It's like, well, you put yourself in that person's shoes. It's like, holy smokes, I can understand why this guy's going crazy. And then after a while, a whole new thing hits you, which is if this is real, then it's a very, very big thing. Very big. I mean, paradigm shifting thing. And so, yeah, very, very frustrating. But there's the other side to it. Was once you get past that, once you get past the bargaining of acceptance, it's like, well, and then which is why I put the challenge out to everybody. The very next day, it's like, okay, internet, show me where I screwed up, because I've solved a lot of weird things in my life. I used to, sorry, not to go off on a tangent, but I used to be a software tester. In fact, I started out in the gaming community. So not only was I a game tester, I was a game breaker. Software guys, developer guys came to me. It's like, break this. And I was, oh, that sounds like a wager. And I would blue screen games for fun. And I mean, there's still bugs in games that I even save for myself. Games that if I'm not working for the company, I take pride in finding little nooks and crannies that I'd like hold for myself. It's like, I'm not telling anybody this one. This one's all for me. So I can show people. So yeah, there you go. Very much frustration.
So to dive a little bit deeper into the frustration, or the frustration is that you're not able to solve this thing that you think is solvable.
Yes.
Is that right? And you're expecting, when you tell everybody about this puzzle, you're expecting them to fix this for you. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the internet hive mind. Okay, to quote again, pop culture, Men in Black, right? A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it, right? But the first part is very, very true, which is all it takes. And I have made this joke a million times. It's like, all it takes is one freaking nerd at 3 a.m. in his underwear in the middle of Nebraska to find something you haven't looked at. And then all of a sudden it changes stuff. You know, one person. No, you know what? I'll give you two quick examples. Lord of the Rings, the very first Lord of the Rings movie. A lot of people don't know this, which was when they were leaving the Shire. You know, Sam and Frodo, when they were leaving the Shire. I don't know if you know this story.
Yeah.
But there was a highway running. There was a road running in the upper right corner of the screen, and there was a white car driving through it.
Oops.
That made it all the way to the theatrical cut. Think of the amount of people that movie went through. I mean, Peter Jackson's a hell of a director. The editors and the sound people and the music people went all the way through, made it past the focus groups to the theater. And then one guy who happened to be reaching down for his popcorn lifts its heads up, and he's not looking in the right direction for whatever reason. He's like, hey, I shouldn't be there, right? And that's all it took. That's all it took to find that one thing. And they had to frickin' bring the theatrical cuts back and recut it, right? That's all it takes. And then the other one I had was what? Okay. The other one was this, which was, in fact, this is a girl. So I love pop culture. I love movies. I love television, and I love reaction channels, right? You know, I've got my favorites that are out there, and I was watching this channel that I never watched before, because I liked seeing if the younger generations respond to movies, kind of like the same. Do they have the same take on it that I did? Has anything changed? And this girl from a channel called Basic Wit Reacts. This interesting girl that's got a kind of a lisp to her voice. And she kind of talks out of the side of her mouth like Drew Barrymore. If you know how Drew sounds. If people have made fun of Drew, and I don't even know this girl knows she's doing it. And I was going, what is this, Drew Barrymore's cousin? What the hell's happening? And she was reviewing Terminator 2, you know, one of the greatest science fiction movies, and arguably one of the best sequels of all time, probably next to Aliens. And I don't know if you remember Terminator 2 very well, but well, there was this wonderful scene where Arnold's character meets the new Terminator in the hallway, and the kid's in the middle. You don't know who's good or bad, and they flip the script on you, and it's like, no, Arnold's good in this one, right? But he's not armed, and the cop that's playing the other Terminator is, and Arnold's got a shotgun hidden in this box of flowers, right? And he's walking, and I've watched this scene hundreds of times, right? I've seen this scene, and I've seen lots of people review it. It's like, oh, that's kind of a cool scene. And this girl's watching this movie, and she has never seen it before. And she goes, I bet he's got a gun in that roses box.
How dare she?
Right? But that's not the cat. And she didn't even know what she had said. He had a gun in that roses box. Well, James Cameron is a huge Guns N' Roses fan. And the only mainstream track in that entire soundtrack was Guns N' Roses, You Should Be Mine. They had just played it not even 10 minutes freaking earlier. And it's like, holy smokes, she found an Easter egg that I have never heard anyone even talk about. And that's because everyone else talked about it in a different context, a different perspective.
Right.
Which was, oh, he's got a shotgun in the flowers box. And the way she said gun in that roses box. I mean, instantly, it was like, oh my God, seriously. And the worst part was she didn't even know.
Right.
He didn't even know. It just glossed right past her. It's like, because and of course he was a huge fan because it was one of the few music videos that Arnold was in. He actually showed up at the end of that Guns N' Roses MTV video.
Wow.
So anyway, why did I bring that up?
Individuals are smart.
Individuals are smart, and individuals will catch something in the internet hive mind. Just by law of averages, will find something. Someone is going to catch, which is why I've always accused NASA is in such trouble all the time, because they always do live broadcasts and live streams. And it's like, dude, you do not want to do it, especially every year since the internet came out, because there's someone who's going to stare at it in a different way than everybody else, and they're going to see it. And once they see it, as the line goes, everything on the internet sticks. Which is why I've told different producers, I've said, I will never, there's only one thing I will not do on camera, and that is I will not renounce flat earth on camera, because even as a joke, because the soundbite will stick and it will never go away, and you will be constantly backpedaling and defending yourself till the day you die. And I mean, I had a full blown, when I did a mobile commercial down in Australia, weird. And they asked me, hey, can we do a take where you renounce flat earth? And I go, absolutely not. Yeah. Not even as a joke, because it will get out. And once that gets out, they will hammer on me, because the conspiracy crowd is so twitchy, so incredibly. I mean, they're twitchy on anything. You make a freaking anything. Use the number 33. You do the whole OK symbol with your fingers. Anything, and they will come after you. So I treat life like I'm on camera.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So do you consider yourself a part of the conspiracy theory community?
Yes. However, I do have caveats to that, in that I do something. I'm not going to say that I'm an anti-conspiracy conspiracist, which is kind of a weird term anyway. You might as well forget that. But I put myself in the other people's shoes, which is in another life. I absolutely, given in different timelines, I absolutely would have worked for a think tank, for the military industrial complex. I absolutely would have worked for some sort of, I'm the guy that roots for the men, not just the Men in Black, but like the X-Files, the smoking man room, where they make decisions. It's like, because for me, it's always about, do the ends justify the means? And so I don't look at just whatever conspiracy say, oh, that's a horrible thing, and we should get rid of those people. I look and I go, why did you do that exactly? What's your angle? Because they don't do it for no reason. They don't do it because they've got handlebar mustaches and black hats, and do things like they don't do it for that. They're doing it because usually for the greater good, for the empire, and which is why I criticize America. And look. Hey, I love this country, but I'm a realist in that it's like, oh no, we're going full Star Wars empire this year. It's like, oh no, Venezuela, Ecuador, Iran. Oh, we're working on that, and the other things, and the America, and only part of it is numerology, and look, it's America 250. And I called it last year. I go, you wait, this year in 2026, we are going for freaking broke. We are going full Star Wars empire, American dominance. We're doing it because we couldn't do it back in 1976. You're only alive for 2 of the centennials. So yeah, in another life, sorry, back to your question. In another life, I absolutely would have been on the other side. So when I look at conspiracies, I mean, I may condemn them, but I'm also realistic. It's like, okay, do the ends justify the means? Yeah. If do you sacrifice? Do you not send reinforcements to the Alamo? Let that fort get overrun, and then parlay that into a battle cry that gets you trillions of dollars in real estate. Trillions. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, those little places, right? 4 entire states for one fort. Not much. You ask anybody. Do not tell me. Sorry, I want to keep this one brief. Which was, do not ever tell me you can't put a price on human life. No, of course you can't put a price on your loved ones because they're your loved ones. But the powers that be, oh no, they'll make that call for you. Which is, you can put a price on human life. We do it all the time. Pawns are on the chessboard for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. So then, to take us all the way back to that moment, still, I'm still stuck back there. When you realize that things seem wrong, seem really wrong. Is there any fear or anything? Like, are you considering what all this means about everything else? Because this changes everything for you, right?
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, it changed part of the reason I was banging my head on the keyboard is because now you have to reevaluate. There's 2 things that happen. One, you have to reevaluate where your place in the universe. And for me, the first thing was, all right, well, I may not be able to define God per se, but at the same time, I respect all religions equally now, because I think they all have a piece of the same puzzle. And I also think they also have a responsibility to each other to acknowledge that they have a piece in the same puzzle, instead of saying, my peace-loving God is better than your peace-loving God, and if you say otherwise, I will kill you.
Of course, yes.
Which is weird. And the other part is you have to reevaluate every conspiracy you've ever dismissed up until that point. I had to, and everybody's told me that has gotten into flat Earth, because flat Earth is this overarching umbrella, like an umbrella insurance coverage over everything that's inside it. In fact, I remember the 9/11 crowd was coming at me because I was diminishing the value of 9/11, which they consider to be the biggest conspiracy in the world. And I said, look, all respect. It's like, first off, I think Pearl Harbor is right up there. It's about the same amount of death toll and everything like that. But also 9/11, you're talking about one city in one country in one part of the world. I go, flat Earth is the whole thing. It's the whole enchilada. It's the whole world. You have to reevaluate everything. But also, to that point, if flat Earth is real, right, then you're talking, if they would be willing to lie about the Earth, or at least be somewhat deceptive, or tell half truths, or what else? Is there anything you wouldn't lie about?
Nothing.
Everything's back on the table. So again, I believe in certain things. JFK. One of my first conspiracies ever, because it predates the internet. I saw JFK by Oliver Stone in the theater, packed house. One of the first movies ever, when I walked out, where people were just, what is happening? They're so angry. Oh, because he shot it so well. I mean, CIA conditioning will tell you, he mixed real footage with his own footage. And if you can keep a target, you can look this up. If you can keep a target engaged for more than 40 minutes, you've got him. You now will influence them to agree, which is why, I'll give you a quick little one. Did you ever hear about the G.I. Joe clause?
No.
Ever hear about that? That was back in the day, late 80s, early 90s. Do you ever remember the cartoon G.I. Joe, the Real American Hero?
Oh, yeah.
G.I. Joe was there. A lot of people don't know that they were so clever that they used the same animation team for their commercials, for their toy commercials, as they did the cartoon. And then they only ran their toy commercials during the breaks of the show, and they ran back-to-back hour-long shows. Well, that's awesome. A problem, because what was happening was the lines were getting really, really blurred, and it turned into this 2-hour commercial, and the kids were just riveted, right? And they were just dialed in. And so what was happening was, quietly behind the scenes, was kids would go to the grocery store with their mother, like they do, and then be like, putting toys in the basket, and then mother, how it goes. Mother's like, no, you're not buying this. No, you're not buying this. Until they got to the G.I. Joe toy. Right? It's like, no, you're not buying the stupid G.I. Joe toy. And the kid, usually the son, would pivot and be like, oh no, you're putting the toy in the basket. Right. And I mean, they push back on their mothers, and mothers be like, what the hell's wrong with little Timmy? And then they would start comparing, they'd talk to the other mothers, and it did not take long before all of a sudden politicians were called. It's like, what the hell is happening? And they very quickly ramped that up, and they had to pass laws that now have been filed under like the part of the Child Protection Act, but it was initially part of the G.I. Joe clause, which is like, you are not allowed to run commercials exclusively for your product during your shows. But they did it. And so, So anyway, the bottom line there is people are very, very easily influenced. I don't even remember the original question.
Was there fear in that, or like what other emotions other than the frustration of trying to solve the puzzle?
Fear. Straight up fear, in that I was worried that there would be a small amount of people that would crack, because I'm nothing rattles me really that much. I mean, short of an act of God, it takes a lot to impress me nowadays. I am so jaded when it comes to audiovisual media, or even out there. I mean, spaceship lands on the ground, it's like, there better be a light show. I better see Pink Floyd being played while you're doing this, because I'd be the worst movie critic ever. So I was worried that there'd be people that would not accept that, if you pull the universe from this massive, massive thing and turn it into a giant studio apartment, would they develop some sort of weird claustrophobic feelings and snap? I was like convinced, like maybe 1%, 2%, something like that. And I was really worried because of the Milgram experiment that was done years ago, if you remember that, where the the scientist was like, oh no, only a 4% chance that those guys are going to crank up the voltage and kill the guy in the next room. And it turned out to be 60. And then when another person was in the room doing it with him, that bumped up to 90. And to where when people were when the Joker made that challenge for Batman, he's like, who's going to blow up which boat, right? And I'm going, and neither side blew up. I was going, I almost flipped off the screen, where I was like, oh no, someone was going to blow up the boat, because the Milgram experiment says there's a 60% chance that a random stranger will just kill you outright if they can get away with it. I know it's like it's the shocks thing. It's not as direct as like stabbing or shooting or something like, but it was true, and it's absolutely repeatable to this day. So I was worried that was going to happen, and it never did. It never panned out, not even close. We've done hundreds of meetups at this point. Never an incident. In fact, the only incidents we've ever had is when a troll shows up, right, and then realizes when he walks in the door, there's not just 4 people in there, and he's like, holy crap, and then they freak out and they leave.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with it. And I mean, I appreciate the trolls for the motivation to show up, but that was the other secondary part was fear, and it never happened. And then, and sorry, one more emotion, which would be that I missed something, and how long would I wait before I would forget about the other shoe dropping? And I waited roughly 6 months. And even then, I'm just ballparking it, because when the subject matter experts started calling that number, because I put my contact information out there. And by that, I mean every branch of the military, air traffic controllers, some pilots, which we talked about the first time. And you and I may want to talk about conspiracies. The fact that our first run at this was almost wiped out entirely, which is really, really weird. But yeah, after those people called, I mean, the very first person that called me was a Navy Sparrow missile instructor. I mean, a full-blown instructor.
Okay.
And I remember my co-host, it was like, you don't have to come on and give us your name. He's like, no, I want to do this. Now, I knew he had double motivation, which was he was not going to lose either way. If he came on and really went gangbusters, he could write and he was thrown out for a Section 8. He could write his own book. I was thrown out for being a flat earther. Oh my God, thing writes itself. Or it doesn't do anything, and then he can retire whenever he wants to retire. And that's what happened. He nobody came after him, and which was surprising. And then all these other military guys is like, well, that Navy guy can do it. And then all these people came out and started talking to me, which was great. And so I compiled that list. And so all 3 levels of fear just evaporated in less than 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me like there's more fear on your part for other people than for your own safety.
No, not me. I just wanted, I did. What I didn't want to happen was somebody to like turn it into, well, again, you don't know, but you have to. Why not take the chance, right? It's like, I'm not treating it like when they the first atomic weapon test, where one of the scientists is like, it could ignite the atmosphere. Yeah, let's do it anyway.
Right.
Because who's going to yell at us if it goes wrong? And so that's I kind of treat it like that. It's like, well, why not? You don't the Kurt Russell line from Big Trouble in Little China. You don't know till you try.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. Well, hang on. Let me go back to the other question. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm getting ahead of myself.
yeah.
Is there anything that you currently have to hide in order to maintain relationships, or does this play a role in the relationships that you wish you could have? Or
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, the paradigm shift is so great. I mean, seriously, it'd be about the same but it's worse than being of a different religion, right? You
yeah,
know,
sure,
if you're Hindu and the other guy's Muslim, or I don't know, just take your pick.
yeah,
One of the other five. It rarely works out. Rarely works out. And so with this, it's such a big thing, and it's going to come up in so many conversations where if the person standing next to you is not in on it, whoever's across from you is going to be looking at them. Is like, you okay with this guy
yeah,
being this? So I have only dated flat Earth women since this thing came out,
yeah,
and I mean only. And it has been, I mean, some have been more enthusiastic than others, and you never know what exactly their motivation is. But it has been, but they've all been wonderful. And it's, I met most of them at events,
yeah,
and it helps. I mean, it's such an interesting topic that it kind of gives me more social street cred, if it sounds about right.
yeah.
Women like interesting, and they don't like boring. What was that stupid thing I heard? The woman's ultimate man is like billionaire werewolf, something
Right.
like
Yeah.
that.
Uh,
And I'm going, that sounds about right. Super rich but dangerous
yes.
and passionate.
Yeah. What about other relationships, other friendships? Do you have a lot of round earth friends, and did it come up?
No. In fact, I'll give you my
No, it
class.
doesn't come up, or no, you don't have them.
Well, no, it doesn't. I don't really have them anymore. The like my round earth friend, round earth friends, my ball earth, my globe earth friends.
Is that the right name for it?
Yeah, I mean,
Bluebird?
again, don't forget that round can be
Sure.
two-dimensional as
Yep. That's
well.
fair.
So,
Yep.
and by the way, that's one of our dead giveaways, and we know whoever we're talking to isn't a flat earther. It's absolutely,
Right.
I mean, spot on dead giveaway. We all catch it as
Okay.
soon as like saying, "Oh, no, I'm not down with the round," and it's like, okay, let me see what you're trying to do there. So
Okay.
we can spot trolls. Most people can spot trolls faster than I can, because I give people the benefit of the doubt. But globalist, my globe friends, like for example, when I did my class reunion last summer, they we had a nice time drinking, caught up and talked to, but how many of them called me after the reunion? I think one, and I think she was the organizer. Nobody else and these are people I grew up with,
Yeah.
didn't call me. Now granted, they have their own lives. I've
Yeah.
never
Right.
been married, they've been married. These are people I didn't really talk to much anyway. um Most of my friends now, 90% of them, are tied to my community in some way, shape, or form. They are
Yeah.
either part of the speaker circle, part of the content creators, part of the forums. Take your pick. They're all over the place, and I talk to them on a regular basis. And really, that's what you're trading when you do it. Which is why would you talk to the globe people when the people that you're bouncing stuff off of? I don't necessarily want to call it an echo chamber, but sometimes it is. The people that give you the positive reinforcement, that's what it is. Like one of those, what
Yeah.
is those old saying, avoid negative people. Not to say the globalists are, but if they push back against you, and one of the big drawbacks of being in flat earth is you do not get to know when somebody flips. And I've had to teach that lesson over and over. We want the satisfaction of talking to somebody, and all of a sudden that you can see the light go on their
Right.
head, right?
Yep.
Because and we misplace the time. It's like, dude, it took you 4 weeks to get here, and you think you can do it with somebody over a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot, which is why every holiday season I have to tell people, it's like, don't go to Thanksgiving and sit down at the table. It's like, hey, Brad, what have you been doing lately? It's like, let me tell you what I've been doing. I've been into flat earth. And you think the table would be like, really? Tell me more. Lean in. Oh, no. It's the exact opposite. It's crickets all the way around.
Yeah.
And people are looking at you. It's like, is Brad okay? Does he need medical assistance? You don't know.
Yeah.
And that is the big, so I have to warn people every time. But that's the confidence it gives you.
Yeah. Right. Well, okay. So do you feel like you would be friends with a globalist, but they're not really willing to be friends with you?
That's a tough question. I've always given people. I do have. Oh, I don't even want to call them friends. Anyone that's a globalist is. I mean, yeah, I have some that are friend-ish, but most of them are acquaintances.
Yeah.
Because they know we can only go so far in a conversation. Because if you're down with the whole flat thing, you're also into conspiracies a lot, right? You've got your opinion. I mean, you believe more conspiracies than not believe them. Meaning, if
Okay.
you know the auto hoax thing, which is whatever is on mainstream news, you're looking at it and you're going, yep, 75% of that is
Right.
is crap right off the bat. I mean, the
Okay.
term auto hoax, which I don't like, is true, which is there are so many of our community, they'll just look at mainstream and they'll just like, okay. But I tell them also, it's like, whatever you see, come on, it's old tricks are the best tricks, which is whatever's on mainstream, the stories you got to read between the lines anyway, which is, okay, why is this story being run? Like Citizen Kane wasn't just a movie, right? And that is, it's one of the oldest tricks in the book, which is if you're very wealthy and a newspaper or whatever is talking bad about you, it doesn't take much to figure it out. It's like, oh, I just have to buy the newspaper or the radio station or whatever, Citizen Kane, buy the newspaper, and then I can run any story I want. And then all it's like, wait a minute, I can run stories to influence the people?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, come on, that's been going on forever, as long as there's been media.
Yeah. So, okay. So let me dig a little deeper in this dynamic then. It's interesting to me. Do you feel like it's a big enough deal that anyone who is a globalist and is not willing to look at the evidence for flat Earth is probably can't be a long-term friend on your end of it? Because frankly, I feel like I could be your friend.
Well, no, I mean, it's rare. No, I could be your friend. No, I can understand. You're a nice guy, but you're also more open-minded than a lot of people. When I run into a globalist that is straight, that you can tell stage one is denial and stage two is anger, and they're writing those two constantly, and I've seen it.
Okay.
What am I supposed to do with them? I mean, but it's even more simple than that. It doesn't even have to be flat Earth. The introduction conversation that usually comes in our group is, do you believe in especially in America, do you believe in the American space program? Right? Do you believe the Americans went to the moon? And if the person on the other side of you all of a sudden starts misting up, right? They're looking up towards the moon. It's like, those brave boys, you know, and a single tear rolls down their face and falls off and turns into a bald eagle and flies away. Then that's exactly, the person you are not going to be talking to. It's like, yeah, we're not going any further than this.
Okay.
Because they believe, if they believe everything, I don't want to pick on my own family, but if they believe from God's lips to Fox News, you're probably going to have a hard time working your way into that. So, which is why there are certain things that have happened over the years, which has really, really helped us. And Artemis, Artemis was a windfall for us because everyone was analyzing that, because the internet's bored. The internet they love looking at stuff, and people love a mystery. That is an old saying. Human beings love a mystery.
Right. Okay. Well, and that seems like that. Perhaps I am inclined toward conspiracies. I don't know, but I feel like
you and I talked before this, and yeah, you are inclined toward a lot about conspiracies.
Well, but I feel like I've got an intentional guard against that because I don't want to be an auto hoaxer or whatever the term is. There are some things that are not a hoax. There are some things that look like conspiracies that aren't conspiracies. They're just bad luck, or they're coincidence, or whatever. And so I feel like I've got to be skeptical about my skepticism if I'm going to be a very good skeptic. So, and it sounds like you're similar. What are some things? What are some skeptical things that you're skeptical about? Are there what conspiracies do you feel like? It might have just been bad luck, or
I mean,
whatever.
All right. Do I believe in coincidences? Yes, I do. However, not a ton of them, because I mean, there are things that happen. Of course, bad luck happens. There are some conspiracies that aren't very sinister, that are just matter of fact, which is why I put myself in the other person's shoes. And I've gone into, I've gone into the bad guy role. And it's like, okay, would I do this, and why would it? Titanic, great one, fantastic one. Which is there's nothing sinister about it. It was straight up insurance fraud, nothing more than that. There wasn't anything diabolical about it, and it started out because the British government screwed up. Which is, the story, the Olympic, which was the sister ship to the Titanic.
Wait a second.
What?
Hang on.
What?
Just to make sure I'm following with you.
Yeah.
Are you saying that the crash was intentional for the insurance?
Absolutely. I have
never heard this before.
Oh yeah, you look it up if you get a chance. It is a brilliant little story, and it follows back. Oh, it's a great. It doesn't take long to tell. Which is there was two ships, the Titanic and the Olympic. The Titanic was built second, the Olympic was built first. Olympic was going through the channels and doing all their trial runs into a British warship. Apparently it was the British warship's fault. They try exchanging insurance cards like you do with ships, and the British and the British government's like, yeah, we're not going to pay it. Well, that's a problem, because as you know, with some cars, if the car damage is bad enough, the car never runs quite right again. And with ships, it's even worse. So they tried to fix it up the best they could. And this thing had a wicked shimmy to it. Apparently it was like, there's no way we're going to be put cruise passengers on this for days on end. So someone came up with a great idea. It's like, you know what? Let's throw this right back at them. Let's get a skeleton team out here, switch the freaking names. It's just paint. Switch the names. We'll send the Olympic out as the Titanic on her trial run to the States. We'll deliberately crash it. We'll flood multiple chambers. And here was the catch. We'll have a backup boat not too far away, basically a bank getaway driver, full with blankets and life preservers and food ready to go, right? Everything's working great. So they switch the names, ship goes out, rubs against an iceberg, you flood the chambers, flares go up to the getaway boat, the captain chickens out because he doesn't think he's going to get away with it. And by the way, that is a common trope with getaway drivers anyway, which is like getaway drivers that get nervous, like, screw this. And the bank guys are like running out of the bank with nobody to go to. Guy leaves. Remember, the Titanic did not have enough lifeboats, and they're like, "Ah, crap." Right. And that's why the captain, by the way, stayed. He's like, I'm not getting away with this for sure. So he goes down with the ship. And the British government, it was a very hush thing. Yeah, look it up if you get a chance. And that captain, you know who they went after? The captain from that boat, he was through. The captain from the boat that was the getaway driver.
Yeah, right.
Quietly made sure his career was done. They made him they should have just straight up hung him, and they didn't, but it was just insurance fraud, which was like, look, we need to recover our losses. If they do not recover if they have to scuttle the Olympic, the company's done anyway. So in the grand scheme of things, either way, White Star Lines was done, but at least they went out trying, which was, hey, and the plan would have worked. Not steal movie lines again, but the plan was good. The plan would have worked. And all it took was one guy to screw up. So yeah, that one, am I skeptical? But yeah, because I would have done the same thing. Look, with White Star, it's like, we're not going freaking bankrupt just because they won't pay our freaking repair bill. We got to do something. We can't just sit here and just fold. And so they went for it. Other conspiracies. I mean, here's the thing that frustrates me about conspiracies. Unless they're media sanctioned, and if they're media sanctioned, they're not conspiracies anymore, right? They're either scandals if nobody dies, or they're tragedies. But
wait, hang on. I want to follow you on that. If it's media sanctioned, meaning that the media
runs it, an actual conspiracy. So like we all know there's conspiracies in business and politics and sports and entertainment, and yes, even science and journalism. We all know this.
Private relationships everywhere.
There's come on. Conspiracies. The very definition of conspiracy is if three or more people generally either conspire. Like I was charged with it back in the day with the whole fireworks thing, when you conspire to do something illegal or unethical, right? So when Enron did its thing, when they found a way to bypass a huge amount of tax, it became the most corrupt oil and gas company in the world. It was the Enron scandal, right? Of course, the bigger scandal was that they paid Arthur Andersen, one of the biggest accounting firms in the world, $1 million a day to cook the books. And then when they got caught, Arthur Andersen had to fold because it's their reputation. It's like, oh, wait, so you're not an honest accounting company? Yeah, not anymore. Little things like let's do a fluffy one. The John Elway, Tom Brady deflate gate.
Yeah.
Great one, right? Which is at the competitive level. When you get up to competitive levels, you know this. Lance Armstrong. Okay, of course. When you get up, it's like the Vince Lombardi from the Lombardi Trophy. One of his famous quotes ever is winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. When you get up to a certain level, I know this because I won a world tournament in pinball because I found an exploit and I didn't tell anybody and I won the world tournament and I got hired by the company and I never could tell them because they would have fired me on the spot. And the same thing again with Tom Brady. Did Tom Brady need to control the inflation rate of the football? No, but it was a mental edge. Turns out that when he finally got to, throw balls that were inflated properly, didn't make any damn difference. But when it comes to professional people, it's like it's always it's in your head.
Especially in
like
sports.
if you feel confident, you're going to be confident. And so when they figured it out, and it's like, oh wait, who were the two guys that were in charge of that? Oh, it was John Elway and Tom Brady. Oh, I'm sorry, not John Elway. Indianapolis Colts. Manning. Sorry, Peyton Manning.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, John Elway. No, that's a whole nother thing. Peyton Manning, he just retires. Right at the end of the year, it's like, oh, so I'm going to retire now. Goodbye, everybody. It's like, well, we can't go after him. And then Tom Brady, his lawyer, is like, delete your phone right now. Delete your freaking phone. And he did. And then they had money backing him up. And they're like, fine, we're not going to go after you. Right? Little things like that. Are there other coincidences? Sure. But there are the big ones I like. Again, sacrificing the battleship Maine. Right, sink the battleship Maine and then blame it on the Spanish, the weakened empire, and then you take the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico like that, so fast that there were armed outposts that didn't even know we were at war with them. As Teddy Roosevelt called it, a fine little war, because we just rolled in. We could have taken Cuba at the same time, and we didn't. American tricks, letting Custer go down. Right. And part of that was, he wasn't well loved in the military. It's like, you know what? He deserves it. Screw him. And he went down, and they used that motivation to then develop huge sweeping policies over the Native American world, because everyone's like, oh, remember Custer, and so on and so on. Are you going to ask me like which ones I don't?
That was my intent originally. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
or just where does your okay, so
where do I draw the line? What?
Where does your what was the word you used? Auto
hoax.
Yeah, where does your auto hoax turn? What makes you not that person? Or where does your skepticism end?
When it's so trivial that I don't that it's not a BS meter, it's not big enough. It's going to make me sound terrible. Where it's not big enough for me to care. I've gotten to where if there's little things that happen, like for example, or not even sometimes if it's not even too big to care. Sometimes it's if people are getting worked up about it, where it's going to take a long time for for example, the big Book of Revelation crowd that goes on to the whole digital currency. We're not going to be doing cash anymore. Great one. People have been saying that. I have heard the Chicken Little version of that. We're not going to number of the beasts. It's like cash still has a place because of illegal activities. And because there's so many illegal activities that run off of cash, it's like, look, you're not going to be buying a whole bunch of keys of Coke with like a Squarespace or whatever they use, with crypto. You're just not going to be doing it. So as long as cash is used for under the table stuff, your digital currency world, number of the beast, blah, 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 is not going to take place. And again, remember, I am old enough to where I've heard this for decades now. Every other year, someone is going on, and if I had to hear, okay, a lot of it's repetitive, which is
I don't think you know who you're talking to. But so my dad was the actor in the movie Thief in the Night about the Mark of the Beast.
Holy smokes, really?
Yeah, I'm all over. You're in my wheelhouse
Thief
now.
of the Night. Oh my God.
Wait, you know the movie Thief in the Night?
I do.
Oh, my dad is the piano player.
Holy smokes. You'll have to send me a picture of him because yeah. Well, again, I grew up in an evangelical Christian home where I mean, during the 80s when church was definitely, we had some great youth pastors, and it was a real, once you get the cool kids in the youth group, oh yeah, it's the church. You're going to stuff on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and you're meeting at this and that, and you're watching special movies, and it's a scene, man.
Yeah.
But we because of that, where was I going with this? Shoot. What was the original
Mark of the Beast? You were saying which
Oh,
things
yeah. Okay,
about.
so every president since freaking Reagan has been accused of being the Antichrist at some point or another. I mean, every single one. And, especially the Bushes, and then, of course, later Obama. And it's like, even, and then when they run their term out, the crowd just shifts to the next guy. And it's like,
yeah.
Really? Because I was listening to you for 4 years talk about this guy, and we're just gonna shift focus and move on to the next guy. And it's like, no, I can only hear Cry Wolf has jaded me in so many ways over the years because I've heard it. I've just heard enough time has left. Another one would be so digital currency, 9 times soon. In fact, the only way you're going to do it is if you have some major world catastrophe. If the only way you can do it is if you break down borders entirely and create some sort of one world government. And I know I've heard about the New World Order for a long time, and I know America's supposed to be it's on our money, so of course we want to be the New World Order, especially since, hey, wait for it, what do you think? I look, when I did stuff over in the Middle East, you know what, they still to this day, a lot of them call America the New World because that's what it was back in the day, which was, hey, we discovered a new world, like a new expansion in a game like Warcraft. Wasn't lost on me. So another one would be Nibiru. That's a great one, which was, that we're part of a binary star system, and then a whole nother solar system every once in a while is going to swing through ours and wreak freaking havoc. A wonderful movie with Kirsten Dunst called Melancholia was based on it. Spoiler alert, everybody dies. The movie 2012, which was loosely tied to it, which was done in 2009. So from 2009, remember, because it was supposed to happen in 2012. In 2009, for 3 years, I was ramping up my survival gear. Yeah. I had already written a survival guide at that point. But when
you didn't have any left over from Y2K?
Yeah, I had to replace all the stuff from Y2K at that point. But yeah, Y2K. Well, I remember going to a party in 1999, greatest year in movies, by the way. Look it up. That's when we peaked out of cinema. Cinema was pretty much done. I don't know why. I was like, all the script writers are like, well, we don't know if we're going to make the 2000s, so let's run our best stuff right now. I remember a party in 1999. There were people hanging around me at that party. And my girlfriend, who was ex-military, she was calling them out on it. She was like, the only reason you're cuddling up to him right now is because if the lights go down, you're going to want to go to our house. That's the only reason. And they weren't wrong. It's like, I had a whole bunch of stuff. And by the time 2012 came around, oh, good Lord, I had a ton of stuff. But my survival guide, I only wrote it because of Katrina. Katrina, when Louisiana got trashed and the whole city of New Orleans got relocated, the whole city, I believe. Most of them went to Texas. Only half of them came back. But the people that came back, they didn't get any survival supplies at all. And I'm like going, you were just literally moved out of your city, right? Yeah. Because the water came, the lights went out, there was looting, even the press, even the police wouldn't go into the darkness because it was just hell on earth. And yet when you came back, the denial kicked in. It's like, well, it's not going to happen again.
Right. Yeah.
Why wouldn't it happen again?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
That's survivorship bias of like, I don't know if I think similar to like going to jail or something. Like if you've never been, then you think this is going to be the worst thing ever, and then you get there and it is the worst thing ever, and you survive it. You're like, well, it's not. I could go back.
Denial.
I had to.
denial sinks people all the time. People that I remember, people that doctors. I've had doctor friends that say, when they do like stomach stapling, which I don't think they're going to do anymore now because of Ozempic. But when they did stomach stapling, they would tell them it's like, you will try to beat the system on this. You will try to eat, and you're basically going to throw up. You're going to eat till you throw up. We're telling you, you can only eat this much every 15 minutes, and every 100% of the time, they'd be like, no, it'll be fine. Wave it off, and get sick at the restaurant. It's like, idiots, freaking idiots. Anyway,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, let's go back to the relationships. That's an interesting dynamic to me. So then, you're basically all of your friends and certainly lovers are in the flat Earth community.
Yes.
Do you feel an animosity from the globe earthers, globists,
globalists, globe earthers, whatever you want to call them? It doesn't really matter. I don't call them globetards or anything like that.
That's nice. That's nicer than they are to you, I feel like.
They are, but that's because when they go through denial into anger, they have to lash out. It is an affront, and the more education they have, and I know flat earthers do not like me saying this, but it's true. The more education they have, the worse it is. Because in fact, I've said, if you have a bachelor's degree in something, anything other than physical science, you got a chance. You have a master's degree in a physical science, there's no way you're coming out of it. You're committed so far in, and you've spent so much money that the chances of you coming around are going to be rare. And if you have a PhD in anything, you're lost. You're absolutely freaking lost. Because the scariest word, look, I've had a lot of academic friends. I helped put a clinical psychologist through school. Which is the scariest word is ostracized, which is you create this peer group, and this peer group is academics, and you're all gunning for the same thing. You want to be published, you want your paper to get out there, and you want to be peer reviewed. And then all of a sudden someone comes along and says, oh yeah, so you're studying astrophysics? Yeah, that's not going to work because astrophysics is worthless. And what does that do to somebody that just spent 6 figures on their education and years? They're a big chunk of their good years, on something like this. And it's like, no, they're gonna, even if they did accept it, I wouldn't want to wish it upon them. They'd crawl into a bottle, into a fetal position, and just be like, hey, what have I done? One of my neighbors was when I was in Boulder, one of my last neighbor before I left, his name was Wayne Ottinger. He was the NASA garage mechanic for the Apollo program. Go figure. The guy, he was sharing he was on another one of the duplexes. He was waiting for his house to be built. It was going to be the last house he owned. He was in his 80s already. And he was the guy, I mean, he had all of the Apollo astronauts on speed dial. And his walls, I remember cats sitting for him. And his walls were bristling with plaques from NASA. He was the guy that literally developed the Apollo moon lander. However, which was weird because the one he developed was a convertible. And they changed it at the last minute and created this hardtop version. And he doesn't even know to this day who did it. But he wrote a book on it. And it was impossible to fly. No astronaut could ever fly at any decent rate. And so it's like, wow, they landed this thing perfectly. But, he got a lot of credit for it, which is weird. Anyway.
Yeah. So then, as far as the flat earthers, but let's go with yours individually. What is your feeling about how the globalists feel about you? Do you feel ostracized by them or outcast?
No, I don't. I can't push back on them too hard because I was in their same boat. Before I got into this, I was that guy. I did say the same thing. I looked at every conspiracy you could think of, but I didn't look at flat Earth because it was stupid, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a conspiracy guy, so I can't even imagine what they went in with. Is like, oh, the flat Earth is this big joke, which is why literally in the first paragraph of the clues, I said your first reaction is going to be this is a joke, and it's not. But you're going to think it's a joke, and everyone that watched the documentary, the Netflix thing, said, first 30 minutes, they're like, oh, no, this is a joke. It's not real. Can't be real. There can't be people like this. They can't be. But it's like, why can't there be people like this? It's the best kept secret ever because it's the only thing we debunk to children, right? We don't talk about JFK to first graders. We don't talk about 9/11 or any of this other stuff. But you know what we do say? Every teacher does. We used to think the earth was flat, boys and girls. You know, might as well play a little xylophone in the background. Bling, bling, bling. But now it's this globe and, you know, it spins. Look at this. Spin, spin, spin. And they put that pretty toy. I've got a couple of them down here behind me covered in flat earth stickers. And they put them in the corner of the classroom and you just leave it there for 12 years. That's top-notch conditioning right there. And usually it's right underneath the American flag if you look at different classrooms. Right? Then you think, okay, what kind of reinforcement is that? Really? The American flag in the corner of the classroom, by the time you're graduating, there's a bunch of people that's like, yeah, you know what? It's where I live. I'm willing to defend it. You know what? I'm going to find my nearest recruiter. And that right below it, that's the globe. Intellectually, I'm willing to defend it because I've seen it for 12 years. That's where we are. No one's ever questioned it in my classroom. Nope. And it's worked. It's freaking worked. It is amazing reinforcement. And then if you go on to university, depending on what you take, then you go into a whole nother level of it.
Yeah.
But no, the globe, it's not that they're coming after me. They're coming after the idea, which is why I luck out. You know, I get to do interviews and stuff. They're not most of the time they're not attacking me personally. They're attacking the idea. And so when I become, you know, when I became, you know, at least the face for a while, I think I was the only one doing interviews for like the first 300 of them. As long as I kept you know, try to be nice and do stuff and not just start swinging, and then everything was going to be fine. And it worked out. Plus I got a couple tricks up my sleeve. One apparently is that I'm naturally socially disarming.
Oh, absolutely.
Apparently.
You're very lovable.
Thank you. Well, no, I mean, it's weird. There was a guy in New Zealand, only one guy. There's some journalist for a magazine. He caught me. He's young kid, and he goes, I got it. I go, what? Because he was sitting across from me at a lunch table. It was just us, and he goes, you've got this goofy warmth that disarms people. He goes, I don't know how to describe it, but it's there. He goes, I can't get mad at you for anything. And I go, oh, that's good. You know, one less thing. But I went home and I started talking to my friends. I go, goofy warmth, and everyone's like, oh, dude, that's it. That's freaking it. And I go, well, you know what? I'll take it. I'll absolutely freaking take it. And it's really helped the cause because it's a soft sell. When I go into interviews, I know that the people want to wind up on me sometimes. And I know the difference because like Flat Earth Dave, poor Dave, like the first 100 interviews that he did, he just got crushed. I mean, not intellectually, but the emotions that were coming at him. People were just, and he had to develop this really tough skin. And then he came up with this whole thing. It's like, I'm just going to hit them with so much content and videos and stuff so quickly, they won't be able, by the time they even think of how to come at me, I'm going to be 6 videos in. And then they can never catch up. And it's like, but in my case, I couldn't afford to do that because I was doing a lot of audio stuff and radio stuff. And it's like, I can't do visual stuff I don't have to.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you on a personal level. I've got an interview with him on Thursday. And,
you do?
Oh, and cool. I don't want to do anything that like present in our interactions. Is there anything that you have seen or heard that you think would not work well with him or that would turn him off?
Yeah. Don't ever call him Irish because I think, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's like that was one of the new things I was working on. I was going to tell people that he's secretly Irish. I know he sounds like he's East Coast Jewish. I know he sounds like that. It's quite the ruse. No, he no, he's good. No, you'll be great. No, I can already tell you're way more. You're way more. Your attitude is way more laid back than a lot of people. You got to remember that a lot of people. I mean, they wait for it because sometimes what he'll do, I've never my autobiography was going to be called Unsolicited, but then I actually solicited something. So then it's like, well, I can't say that anymore. But in his case, he solicited some interviews. You know, he had people that were firing stuff off the podcast. Well, eventually, you know how that's going to go. You're going to run into somebody in a mood and they'll be like, oh, a flat earther. Oh yeah, we're bringing him on this show. And I got backup and we're going to do a 3-on-1 and we're just going to roll him as fast as we can. And so at that point, he's on the defensive and stuff. No, you'll be great.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you have to do anything. He's awesome. He'll have some questions for you. He likes asking questions. What do you think of this video right here? What do you think this is? Oh, you're wrong. It's actually this. That.
Okay.
He's like, that's not a planet. That's a teacup. That's not a planet. That's a dirty dish. You know, he's good on visual things to try to get people to remember that. I'll give you this, which is he's really picked up on that the people that come at us, what's really amazing for me as well, is that the people that attack flat Earth and are defending the globe and the solar system know very little about it.
Yeah, sure.
And he'll be the first to tell you. He'll be like, so how fast is the Earth spinning on its axis, right? 1,000 miles an hour. Now, how fast is it traveling horizontally around the sun? 60,000 miles an hour. How fast is the solar system moving sideways through the galaxy? 500,000 miles an hour. And most people don't know any of that stuff. Any of that stuff, or how big the moon is, how big the sun is, how far the sun is. And we've had to relearn this. The question is, why are you defending the globe and the solar system if you don't even know that? If we know the numbers better than you, why are you defending it just on face value? And the reason is because we have now turned, and I'll use the George Orwell quote, which you'll appreciate. George Orwell, 1984, who said in a 1946 article that he goes, if you go on, remember, he wasn't one of us, but he goes, you go on the street and you ask anyone how the world is a globe, how they know the world is a globe, they'd be like, we know, it's known, it's a given, right? And you really say, how do you know? And then the wheels start grinding, because then all of a sudden they realize it's not that they know, is that they were told. Remember, in 1946, NASA wasn't even founded until 1958. How did everybody in the world know it was a globe in 1946? There was no space program. It's because they were told. And then and the point was, he was going, we've gotten to the stage now where science, 1946 was really ramping up. He goes that people will defer to the men in the lab coats just because they have the lab coats. And I have seen it myself. It's like, you obviously are more intelligent than me. Therefore, whatever you say, people shortchange their intellect, especially when they get intimidated by someone that calls themselves doctor, even though they're not a doctor of medicine, right? Or they've got a PhD, right, and they love saying that the fact that they have a PhD. And it's like, just because you have a PhD, no, I know some really dumb people that have master's degrees, and the occasional PhD that, they've got a lot of confidence, but not a lot to back it up. And to that point, why haven't I got a whole bunch of PhDs that have called me or written me or sent me things? I'd love to talk to them, and most of them won't, because they consider it lowering themselves. And I've said this, and I don't want to sound again like a cult leader when I say this, but I've said, unless you come up with a version of the solar system that's as easy to understand as the flat Earth model, you're going to lose by attrition, because and science is like, well, I don't have to make it more simple because that lowers the tone of the room and blah blah blah. I'm going, no, you don't get it. The general public, I don't care about you. I don't have to convince you. I'm going to go after your family and your friends and your coworkers and the kids. We're going to take them all. And all it's going to be left is you in the middle of an island. That's and I know it sounds sinister when I say this, but it's true. But it's more of a challenge to science. Like, dude, I'm warning you in advance. You have to do this. If you do not do this, the general public is going to go with our model. And your response, and some of theirs might be, well, just because it's easy doesn't mean it's right. I go, no, but it means it's easy. And as we all know, what we found out over the last 50, 60 years is if it's easier, that's what the public is drawn to. It doesn't matter if you think you've got it locked down with math, with calculus and trig and quantum theory and oh God, all that stuff. We will take it because people, again, texting, such a great example. Texting is not a more efficient way to communicate. No offense if you text a lot. But come on, I grew up where phone calls. So when I was doing tech support for years and years, we was phone calls. When they switched over to the chat thing, it's like, oh no. The reason why we created this massive wall of emoticons is because texting wasn't enough. And yet there's still people, because it's emotionally easier. I mean, there's couples that start and finish entire relationships with texting. That's just, know how that bugs me. Anyway, sorry, I ramble.
Yeah, no, that's good. So much of our Well, yeah, I don't need to sidetrack into texting. We largely agree on that. There's less being said. It's more efficient if you have less to say.
Or if
but-
you're texting somebody even more than like 5 times back and forth. You know, I've called family members out.
yeah.
I'm like, look, pick up the freaking phone. I have told people, I go, if I get it more than 3 texts from you in a row, I may read them, but I'm calling you. And when I call them, just blows their mind. It's almost like they're talking to an alien. And it's like, who is calling me?
Well, you called me, and I was like, my phone is ringing. I didn't know it did that.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, when you say text me, it's like, oh no. We are calling right now.
Yeah. Okay. So then a couple of questions here. How confident are you on a scale from 1 to 1,000 that the Earth is flat?
Just so you know, kids, it was 100 the last time we talked.
It started out as 10.
It started as 10, then you took it to 100. Now it's
1 to 1,000.
I would say 997 because it's divisible by 3. No, it's not. 996 because it's divisible by 3. And the only reason I'm not 100% confident is because nobody's accepted my challenges, which is there's a couple things that I could use to take it to 100%. But the challenge is, but I can't do it by myself. One would be, again, put a camera of any kind, decent quality, on the top of a capsule that's going to leave orbit, hint, hint, Artemis, point it at the ground, let the sucker go, and then leave the camera running and let us be able to analyze the footage. You don't even have to live stream it. That was another thing, by the way, which was why are you live streaming all the footage when you have all these wonderful hard drives on the freaking capsule? You know you could be recording locally on this and then downloading them when you get home, but that's fine. You don't want to listen to me. You didn't hire me for this think tank, so screw you. The other one would be the vacuum chamber test, which I put out there for years, which was loan me a spacesuit from any era. Funny that you keep changing the spacesuits, even though they all work perfect. They got a perfect track record. No one's ever gotten hurt in one. So put me in a spacesuit, put me in a vacuum chamber, pull the switch and tell me what happens. Tell me how I don't die. Because the vacuum chamber should expand that spacesuit. Everything pressurized in a vacuum chamber will continue to expand until it goes tight as a drum and then explodes. You can look this up all day long on YouTube. The only object ever that's never happened to is a spacesuit. And no one questions it. And it's a brilliant move, by the way, which is, remember, a spacesuit is basically just a balloon that a person's in. Well, the pressure on the outside, if it's 14 pounds per square inch, 14.7, on the outside it's 0, the pressure difference is going to be massive, freaking massive. And it's going to turn into a parade float. They'll tip over and they'll die. But that doesn't happen. And I know why. In fact, you can look this up. It is not secret information. The early spacesuits they were designing in the 1950s and even into the early 1960s were heavy aluminum and plastic. They were bulky. They looked like something out of a B movie. And watching these guys, these astronauts, walk around in these things was painful. And then they realized, it's like, we can't climb ladders in these things. You know the spaceship we'd have to build to put these guys in? I mean, it's like clunk, clunk, clunk. But the reason why is because they needed to be rigid to survive the pressure thing. And then somebody, God bless this man, whoever came up with the idea, I hope they gave you an island and a whole bunch of beautiful women to lick your toes. Because what happened was somebody said, and I can prove this, which is somebody said, just give him a soft suit. What do you mean a soft suit? It's like, yeah. We'll just do a soft suit. We'll shoot it in freaking slow motion. It'll work. Why? Because we don't teach general physics in high school. Nobody cares about physics. Everyone joins the football team and the band and everything. Physics club, math club, chess club, all super small with nerds. No one's going to give a crap. We don't teach people enough physics to understand. It's true. I never even took a physics class when I was in high school. So, and then it'll work because we'll put it on television and people will be like, well, there it is. And so when I go to other countries and I talk to people and it blows my mind. Again, America, hey, go team USA. We're the best. I get that. But it's like, hey, people, random audience that I'm staring at in Sweden. Why do you think the Americans went to the moon? Right? I don't care what country it is. They all say the exact same thing. They say, well, because it was on television. And you guys would never lie about something like that. Your media would never lie about something like that. And I just stare at them with xylophone eyes. And I'm like, what? Blink, blink, blink. I go, what are you talking about? I go, this is America. Do you not know us at all? I go, we lie about anything we can. to put us in a better light. That's exactly what we would do, is would lie about that. And they just don't understand. So anyway, the soft suit sorry, back to your original thing, which is the soft suit does not work. It does not make any damn sense. And no scientist has ever called me up. No academic has ever written me and say what magical thing in that backpack on the Apollo astronauts. Remember, this is 1969. This is analog. Tell me what magical thing in that backpack kept the astronauts from dying against the vacuum of space. I don't care about heating and cooling and oxygen and carbon and all that other crap. Tell me what that happened. And sorry, one more thing, since we're on that, you know what? Let's just throw this out there, just a heck of it. There's so many things rattling around my head, which is, you know anybody that scuba dives?
No.
Okay, but you know the concept, right?
I want to get
Okay, you have an oxygen tank, you have a nitrogen tank. Again, the average person doesn't know. And by the way, I'd love to grill an astronaut in this because I know they're going to forget, which is what we're breathing in right now is not nothing, right? And it's also not oxygen for the most part. It's only 20% oxygen and 80% nitrogen, an inert gas, right? This is why when you go down and scuba dive, it's 80-20, but usually they crank it up to 70-30. And you're saying, well, why don't they just make it 100% oxygen? Because 100% oxygen, actually anything over 40% oxygen to humans is toxic. It'll burn your lungs right out. 100% oxygen, they only use in emergencies. And even then it's like, if we use this, he's not going to be breathing right ever again. So when you're scuba diving, the only thing you care about, ask any scuba diver, is that freaking gauge, right? It shows you how many minutes of air you have left. It's all you care about. You're constantly staring at it. Constantly. It's like, I got 16 minutes. I can pick up some more shells or whatever. And when you get down to like below 10, people are like, okay, we got to get the hell out of here, right? You know who never, ever talked about oxygen? Ever? The astronauts. Apollo never brought it up. It never came up. Didn't matter how far they were away from the capsule, how far away in that stupid dune buggy that was running at half frame rate. Because when you slow things, remember, that's a 70s trick from 70s sci-fi. Steve Austin, $6 Million Man. You just cut the frame rate in half and it makes you look like you're going in slow motion. That's all you do. You double the frame rate. Seriously, you watch any of the Apollo stuff, just double the frame rate. It'll look like they're just running around normal. It is one of the oldest tricks in the book, and it was the only trick they had. The question is, when you're taking a dune buggy 3 miles away from the capsule, you should know exactly how much air you have. And you should be talking to your buddy because you're going to be consuming air slightly differently. And if something happens with that dune buggy, for example, which is just ridiculous, how long would it take you to get back, walking back to that capsule? And would you be panicking? Because you remember, you can't run because then you'd be using more air. It never, ever came up. Ever. I have yet to find a transmission. It's like, oh, we only got 16 minutes of air left. We should stop playing golf. Whatever. Just dumb. Anyway, sorry. Where was it going? I was off in the weeds.
I don't know. I was asking about your confidence level, and you were saying,
oh yeah, 99.6% or 996. Yeah. And again, between those two tests, that would do it. The capsule, the camera on the capsule has never happened in the history of space travel. It should have happened accidentally in either Gemini or Mercury or Apollo or any of the space station stuff, or the freaking Tesla Roadster in space. Never happened. And Artemis 1 never happened. Remember, that was unmanned. And Artemis 2, it didn't happen. And we knew. And people were like, why are you so happy about Artemis? It's because we've been prepping for this thing for years, waiting for this one. So every single glitch, everything they did wrong, we just wiped out. In fact, the press conference that she did yesterday, I will remember after this one. I will send you the link. Luckily, they'll get these guys out of the public eye. I don't think they're going to be naming any schools after them or anything. But I do know this. I do know this for an absolute fact. After what I saw during Artemis 2, again, NASA, if you're listening, and don't kill this recording too, you will never, ever be able to do a moonwalk ever again in the modern era, because the transmission, you can remember, you're going to have to set up the cameras and people are going to be staring at it, and we will find the weaknesses in the story. It will be worse. And you're going to be handcuffed because you're going to have to make it look as almost identical as the Apollo missions. The thing they really stuck with is no stars in space. That's the big one. It's just killing them. Which is, they have the tech now. They now have the computer power to pull it off, stars in space, because everything will line up right. You couldn't do stars in space in 1969 because it would be too much of a pain in the ass. Again, one nerd in his underwear in Nebraska be like, Orion shouldn't be over there. It's 10:30 a.m. Greenwich time, and Ryan's behind them. So why? And so somebody, again, brilliant, whoever, it's like because all it takes is one guy, whoever's running that meeting. It's like, yeah, no stars. Just freaking stars. Well, how do we explain? It's like, no stars. Just freaking no stars. We'll say it's an exposure setting. Well, yeah, but what if the cameras get better? It's like, doesn't matter. So now we have 2026 cameras, which can see infinitely better than the human eye, and yet they won't change the exposure. They won't tweak it. We can go predator vision, ultraviolet, infrared, all this stuff. Never, no stars in space. Nope, nope, nope. Ever, ever, ever.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Tell me this. A couple last questions. Have you ever known anyone? Before I ask that, hang on. I want to go back because there was something you said earlier that was really intriguing to me about someone's conversion rate. About how like you can't expect them to come in, in one day, and you can't go to Thanksgiving and convert somebody.
Oh no, you can't. You can't.
Right.
It is the crux of it. Is the biggest weakness of the flat Earth message, which is when you flip. I didn't have to do it because I was in 9 months. I knew the pain I went through. But if the average person only goes through like 3 weeks of whatever they go through and then finally have that light bulb moment, for some reason, when it happens, they get this reaction of, oh, it was so easy, right? Kind of like the child's toy thing I was telling you about before, which is like, it was so easy. I got it. I can convince, and now again, it seems so easy in your head because now you finally got the solution. But knowing the solution in your head and explaining the solution to someone, there's a massive disconnect because when you're talking to somebody, they're in a whole different state of mind, which is they're still in denial, followed by anger, followed by acceptance. You've already gone through this, and for some reason, you have now erased that. From it's like, oh no, just that was nothing. Those 3 weeks of hell that I went through, that was nothing. Now I'm good, and now I can, there's this weird I have watched rookies have so much confidence they're willing to debate like master's level astronomers right out of the gate. It's like, dude, you've only had the light bulb moment for like a couple weeks now. It's like, no, I got this. It's like, really? Do you have? And kind of like put me in, coach, put me in. It's like. And sometimes we do, and so they hang on for a little while, but then they realize it's like you still have to develop the breadth of knowledge and all the other stuff. But yeah, there's that conversion rate. So everyone tries for at least once or twice, and then they get smoked because they stare at this person's like, don't you get it? Right? They stare at you like, don't you get it? And the person on the other side, they just have their mouth open making chicken noises, and they don't, of course they don't get it. So it's you want them, they will run into this. So I tell people, just plant the seed, walk away. Right. That's all you can do. You plant the seed and they will find it like I did, the drapes closed, 3 a.m. typing, after their 45th freaking flat Earth video or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden they'll be worn down, and then you don't even know what video it is. It's always different for somebody, and it'll be like, oh, right, now I get it. And then they know no one apologizes. That's also the worst part. They may have called you all sorts of names, whatever it was. It's like, you're a freaking idiot. Right? And when they turn, kind of like, one of us. But it's not this, oh man, I'm so sorry I ever doubted you. No one has ever told me that. I've had a few people write me and say, hey, I was a little harsh on your stuff, but I am more open-minded. I will say this, but no, I've never gotten a formal apology ever. Ever. So.
Well, and in my world too, because like I used to be, deep in evangelicalism, and now I'm very, very much not. So like in my world, I see that exact same thing of like every time someone either converts to Christianity, like, oh, I'm going to go convert all my family. Like, good luck with that. I don't think it's going to go like you think it is. Or everyone who leaves, like who has the realization that, this system that I was in, it's not, every one of us, including me, goes out and writes a book because we think if we just use the right words, then everyone's going to see it. But I feel like our knowledge base is really an emotion base. We like to think that we rationalize things, but we really feel things. And until someone has the emotional conversion that goes with the intellectual conversion, the words aren't really going to be as helpful as you always feel like they're going to be.
Right. Right. And it works in our case, it works out the way it should, which is people, you don't, which is why I always tell people, when I'm ending stuff, it's like, look, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because you really should do your own research. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to persuade you. I'm just here to say, hey, here's the idea, figure it out for yourself. But then I warn them, and it's not reverse psychology when I say it. It was the opening of one of my books, which was, I go, if you like your life the way it is, if you wake up and like everything is awesome, don't look into it, because it is kind of like the Matrix, which is, I'm not saying, I don't want to be as harsh and say ignorance is bliss, but when you get into this, there is a period kind of like Neo where he's not doing well. And then finally, when he gets to the other side, it's like, okay, now I can move forward, or the Cypher reference from it's like Cypher wanted to get back into the Matrix. He's like, nah, it sucks. But in our case, it's like, no, it sucks. But is it better to know the truth and be somewhat miserable, or to be ignorant and happy? I don't know. Take your pick. But I warn people, I go, if you do this, there's a point of no return. And once you get to that point, and it's too tempting for people, they don't know where that line is, and they think they can walk right up to it and turn around. It's like, no, you're going to trip.
Right.
And keep going. And then you're going to be, which is why one of our guys, Rob Skiba, who's a big biblical guy, he, in his first speaking thing, he put a slide up, which was April 15th, 2015, the day Mark Sargent ruined my life. Because he wanted to, but that was also an insurance policy in case something went wrong, because he was always like 98% for like a year. And he was like, in case I have to roll back, I can just point at Mark and say, oh no, he was the guy that persuaded me.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you one last question here. I want to make sure I word it correctly. Yeah. Give me just a second. I'm afraid this is going to come across as a gotcha or something like that. So I just mean this as sincerely as I've meant all my other questions.
Okay.
Too.
Okay.
Do you feel like if you came across the realization that the Earth was actually a globe, do you feel like you would be able to hold that belief and also hold on to your community, or do you feel like you would lose your friends?
No, I'd blow it out of the water. Because again, remember, I came from a gaming background where I would break games for fun. And I'm not saying that the community should be broken, but if I am a big believer in an objective truth. And when it comes to the greater good, I'll be as honest as I can here. And I know we're going to do a follow-up interview anyway, which is not as honest as I can, but be as forthcoming as I can. I'm a big believer in that our civilization has basically run its course when it comes to how far we have gone, what our benefit is to whoever created this place. Meaning, the best books have been, we peaked out in the 5 forms of media, 2D, pictures, sculptures, music, books, and dance, not particularly in that order. Everything's been peaked out a long time ago. When was the last major symphony that ever meant anything? 1916. Major books were late 40s, most influential books. And so on and so on. Movies, 1999. Come on, that was 27 years ago.
It was a great year. It was it was an important year for me. So I'm biased, but
look this up if you get a chance. I mean, objectively, I've talked about this for years. The greatest year in cinema was 1999. You can look.
I think so. Yeah, that was Matrix, right? Wasn't Matrix 1999?
Yeah, Matrix, yeah. Galaxy Quest, Fight Club. There's a whole bunch on that list. I mean, it is an amazing list. I mean, I remember I was in Boulder and I was walking to the movie theater multiple times a week because I would see everything in the theater if I could. But what blew me away, because I had this discussion with somebody else, I bounced this off of other people, and they go, and we came to an agreement. You know what the second greatest year though was in cinema? It was 1984. Going back another 15 years, and you could look it up. It was the year that launched 1,000 sequels. It was all these major franchises started in 1984. And the point is we've gone, our civilization's peaked. That shouldn't be a shock to anyone. The lifestyle, the American experiment is pretty much over. The opportunities that the Gen X had, we caught the tail end of it, and every generation afterwards seems to be having some way more difficulties. The world is not a great place. So for me, and I'm not saying this lightly, for me, which is why it's underneath my thing right here, I would love to see a reset of the world. And if Flat Earth does that, I am not going to hesitate in the slightest. Meaning, I do believe in the old civilizations. Again, look at the sunken cities off of Japan, sunken cities off of India, Machu Picchu, Puma Punku, the real pyramids, the Bosnian pyramids, Bimini Road, it goes on and on and on, right? But we are not the first people to rent this apartment. And all those civilizations ended one way or another. Maybe not in a spectacular, horrible 2012 way, but they did end. And like a graduating class, they had to leave, and then another civilization came along. I think we're kind of at that point. And I'm not trying to say that it sounds like a cliche, because people have been saying that for a long, long time. But I don't think that Flat Earth was an accident that we ran unchecked for 3 years, if you know what I mean. And it took 3 years for the system to find, like you and I will talk about more of that offline maybe, where after 3 years, then finally the system started putting in things into place. But at that point, no, it was already systemic. You aren't, short of shutting down the internet, which would kill everything. Now, I don't think it's going to be stopped. What was the original question?
Yeah. So do you?
Welcome to the mind of me.
It took us 4 hours, but I think we finally found maybe something that we disagree about. I am hopeful that we've not reached our peak. That's still in front of us. But
no, I'm there with you, but objectively, I'm looking at it from the outside. It's like, from a novelty standpoint,
yes,
I just don't see it.
Right.
And I do believe that part of this universe runs off of novelty, which is a whole nother thing. You know what? We'll save that for the next one.
That is our society is novelty right now. But
it is. I mean, that's what we run off of. And I think it's a micro thing. I think whoever's looking at this place is also looking at it as that.
Yeah. Okay. But the original question was, do you feel like you would be able to still have your friend?
Yeah. So like people have asked me, it's like, if, for example, we'll just do a hypothetical here. If I was allowed to go up on the space station, right, the ISS, if I actually took a trip to the ISS, never going to happen, even though I've said yes multiple times to people. If I could go up and do that, because the vacuum chamber test isn't necessarily going to convince me that the Earth isn't flat, but it would go a long way. You want to prove it for permanently, you put me on the ISS, and don't do that stupid trick. You want to have some fun, by the way. Here's a great example of why I'd be skeptical about the ISS. Look up a British reality show called Space Cadets. One of the most cruel, I got to say this, we got some time. This is one of the most cruel things I've ever seen, which is why I'd be skeptical, but I'd still do it. If somebody, we'll answer your other question first. If you want to cut out the second part, you can, which is, if I went up on the ISS and I saw the globe and everything was copacetic going from the ground to the ISS, and I didn't detect any sort of tricks, Mission Impossible style, right? Then I'd be like, oh yeah, that's it. It's over. Right. And I would come down and I would tell people, like, oh yeah, the Earth is a globe, blah, blah. However, the chances of that happening are so incredibly slim. Even if they wanted to, I know they would try tricks, and I'll use the Space Cadets thing.
Hang on, real quick. I want to move back, because you're going to go into the Space Cadets thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my question is, do you feel like you'd be able to maintain your relationships? Do you feel like you'd be able to come back and say, hey, Dave, I'm not in this camp anymore, but I love you and I still want to be your friend?
Yes, but at that point, you're in uncharted territory, aren't you? Because then the whole community might just blow up. I mean, at that point, the cohesive bonds wouldn't be there anymore at all, which kind of leads the credence to the strength that we have now, right? If Flat Earth was so easy, remember, like a child's toy, if Flat Earth was so easy to get rid of, why hasn't it been gotten rid of? It's not good English. Why is it still here? Why hasn't anybody stomped this out from any capacity, from any angle in the last 11 years? And why did you wait so long to launch Artemis? You had a chance if you did Artemis. Remember, the original Artemis project, the Orion capsule was designed in 2014. What took you so long? By the time 2026? Again, they only did it because of the America 250 thing. But if you had your only chance was to stomp this thing out way, long time ago. Or one more real quick is like, if you wanted to snuff it out, look, I come from the programming world. It would have been easy code to just say at any search engine, because they're controlled, especially YouTube, which is run by Google, which is all you have to do is say, don't recommend flat Earth for anyone ever. That's all you had to do was to stunt it. And they did the opposite. It's like, oh no, egg salad recipe. Here's 3 flat Earth videos for you. Oh, truck maintenance. Here's 2 more flat Earth. They were recommending flat Earth to everyone. And it was auto playing if you didn't hit stop. It was like, oh, moving on. It's like, oh, here we are, whatever Hollywood thing. Oh no, now we're doing flat Earth. It's like, it just kept happening. So no, the short answer to your question, no. If no, how could it? The common bond that glued everyone together would be gone if that was the case. But why hasn't it happened, right? If you want to snuff out flat Earth, put Flat Earth Dave up in the ISS. Put the Antarctic thing was ridiculous because why nobody cared is, and why it came and went, and we're a year later now, but over a year later, it's because Antarctica didn't mean anything to us in the first place, except for the Antarctic Treaty. The sun certainly didn't mean anything, which is why I turned it down. And thank God, because the conditions were miserable. You actually slept in tents on the snow. I thought you'd actually sleep in like military, like aluminum barracks. It's like, oh no, you're sleeping in the freaking snow. So like if it's
still
no, oh no, man.
But I also like camping, so yeah.
This wasn't even Austin was a camper. And that guy is going, he goes, I'd never do it again. It was awful. It was freaking awful. But let me tell you really quick about the Space Cadet thing, which was, it was a reality show in the UK. And, the UK has never had a space program, which is interesting in its own right, because it's like, really, why not? And they probably, because, if you look up a wonderful video, the James Bond, Sean Connery era, I think it was Diamonds Are Forever, where Sean Connery was escaping from the bad guys, and he was running through various movie sets, and he ran through a moon terrain, and the astronauts were staying in character, running in slow motion, so they couldn't catch him. Oh, it was brilliant. Absolutely freaking brilliant. Anyway, so the Space Cadets was a reality television show where they created a British space program. And they brought in these, I don't know, younger, they would have been young Gen Xers and some.
Oh, wait, I lost you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, wait. Hang on. Sorry. I don't know why. Let me change my settings. Double check.
Oh, do not tell me we're having an issue now.
Change my
toggle
audio.
your mic.
Sorry, go ahead. Right. I still can't hear you. I'm assuming you can't hear me because you stopped.
No, I can hear you.
You can't hear me. Okay, hang on. Audio, speaker.
Well, tell you what.
Scepter.
Here, let me. That's okay. Hang on.
Hello.
Wait. Private chat. I can hear.
Digital output.
Hear you. Let me kill.
I can do this, but I'm afraid it's. Oh wait, hang on.
What?
No, it's my fault.
Why?
The test isn't even playing out.
Let me end the recording now.
Man, what is with my?
That's all right.
I never have this.